everybody, and welcome to another video. Today we will be doing my first song rank that I've done on this channel, and today we're going to be talking about the latest Red album, Gone. So for those of you who might not have seen the video that I did quite a while ago talking about that did mention what this type of video would be. Basically, I'm going to be taking an album, in this case, Gone, and ranking all the songs from it, and just kind of giving my thoughts on each one very briefly, and also kind of talking about which ones are my favorites and which ones are my least favorites and all that. So without further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to be starting at the bottom of the list with number 17, and by the way, I am going to be ranking the deluxe edition of the album, which has the 7 bonus tracks on it. And that includes like the remixes and stuff. So at number 17 we have Step Inside the Violence, Alex Nice remix. As it is, I'm not really a huge fan of Step Inside the Violence, as you'll see a little later on. The remix, I think, is even worse than the original song, and not saying that the original song is bad, because it's not, but it is one of my least favorites on the album. And with the remix not really, to me, being anything interesting really at all. It's just my least favorite. It's the one that I would probably listen to the least out of all the remixes and all of the songs from the album. And yeah, I just don't really like it that much. It's not really anything that special. It is the most boring remix out of the remixes on this album, and the most boring song as well, I think. Next up at 16 is another remix, which is the Gone Graves version. This is the last song on the deluxe edition, and it is one of the 2 remixes for the title track. And this is my least favorite out of the 2. There are things that I like about it. I like how it's sort of a, I guess, more ballad style remix of it. It's a little bit more orchestral in some ways, but really, other than that, that's about all the nice things I have to say about it. The chorus is really not that well done in this remix. I think the verses are pretty good, but the rest of it just isn't. I do see the appeal for it. I think it's cool that they actually made it very different from the original version, but it's still not really anything that incredible. Then at number 15 we have the other remix for Gone, the J-Sav remix, which I do actually kind of like a little bit. It's a decent song. I guess I still prefer the original version, but out of the remixes, this is the best one. Like I said about the other ones, it's really still nothing too great. Really, the remixes are one of my biggest problems with the deluxe edition, because they're really nothing that unique or that interesting, whereas all the ones that Red has done in the past, at least I think, like for in the deluxe edition for their album Release the Panic, they had remixes for him for The Missing and Death of Me, and then I think they also did remixes for Run and Escape and Release the Panic. And all of those were actually pretty decent. These ones just aren't, so they are at the bottom of the list. Now at number 14 we have Unstoppable Redux version. Some of you may be surprised to see something like this as low as it is. I have said often, or I don't know about often, but I did have said before, I think, that I do really like Red's piano ballads. And this is basically Unstoppable, but a piano ballad. Really, my biggest problem with this is, first of all, I can't get past that the sound of the song and the lyrics are completely contradictory. It's good, but it's probably one of Red's weakest piano ballads that they've ever done, I think. Like I said, it's not bad, it's alright, but it's just of a lower quality than what I would usually expect from them. At 13, we have Step Inside the Violence. Like I said before, I don't hate this song. It's alright. I don't think there's really any song on this album, at least besides the remixes, that are just not good. I think that all of the songs are pretty decent, at the very least. But Step Inside the Violence is still my least favorite. Part of it is probably because Red has usually had very good opening songs, especially since their album Until We Have Faces with Feed the Machine, and then Release the Panic, and then I don't really count Descent from A Beauty and Rage when it comes to the So Imposter. All three of those are pretty good songs, especially Feed the Machine and Imposter. Release the Panic is still good, but not quite as much, I don't think. But this is probably their weakest opening song, at least in my opinion. I couldn't really get into it when I first heard it. I was kind of like, I don't know if I like this or not. It has grown on me a little bit, but it is still one of my least favorites from the album. Next up, with me talking about the piano version of Unstoppable earlier, you'll probably be surprised about this, but at number 12 we have Coming Apart Deconstructed. And this is the better out of the two piano versions of the song. This is a very good song, actually, but I just don't like the rest of the album is just really, really good, I think, so it's just kind of weird to have it as a least favorite, even though it is still pretty good. Still pretty good, I just don't like it really as much as the original version, even though both of them are very good in their own way, and I do definitely see the appeal for the piano version. At 11 we've got Singularity. I have heard a lot of praise for this song, a lot of people saying that it was one of their absolute favorites from the album, and I do understand the appeal of it. I do think it's good, but for some reason I just can't get into it as much as a lot of the rest of the album. I think it makes for a good closing track. For me, something about it just didn't quite feel right. It is very well done, I do like it, but there are things about it I just can't get into, like the way Michael Barnes sings in the chorus just doesn't quite work for me for some reason. Although his vocals throughout the song and this album are still very good. But something about it just doesn't feel right to me, I guess. Whatever. It's still a good song, but just not, like I said about the Coming Apart Deconstructed, is just not as good as a lot of the others. At number 10 we have Unstoppable, which is a cover of the song by Sia, and it's the second cover that Red's done on their albums, the first being Ordinary World on their album Innocence and Instinct. And I do personally think that this is a better song than Ordinary World was. I actually like it a lot more than several people that I have seen, which have said that this is one of their least favorites from the album. And even though this isn't exactly my favorite from the album, it is in the middle when I rank all of them, it is still very good, I think. Not only just throughout the album, but especially on this song, the way that like the horns are used, because Red put horns on this album, which is something I forgot to point out in my review. But I really liked that addition, and I think it worked really well in this song. And there's one point in it where it is the chorus, and it's just Michael Barnes singing, and then horns playing, and I think that is the best part of the song, and I just really like it. I think a good song, and it's a pretty good cover. I vastly prefer it over the original. It's a pretty good song and a good cover as well. Next at 9 we have AI, which is one of the songs that Dustin Bates from Starset co-wrote with Red for this album. And you can kind of see the resemblance a little bit, I guess. This is a really good song again. Probably one of the best choruses on the album, I think, and overall it's just a pretty good song. However, I can't really get into the verses as much. The chorus is quite good, but the verses kind of fall flat a little bit for me. But I do like a lot of the elements of the song, like some of the electronics and stuff in the background, which does appear quite frequently on this album. But I really like them in this song, and just sort of the overall vibe it gives off, I guess. Next up at number 8 is Fracture. I'm actually quite surprised that this is in the position it's in, because I thought it would be higher. Like I said, just a lot of the songs on this album are very good. So, Fracture is one of the more fast-paced songs on the album, at least in like the main riff. Throughout the rest of the song it's not quite as much, I guess, but the opening of the song with the main riff is very headbangable, I guess, and I really like the main riff in this song and stuff. I'm sure most other people probably do too, but the rest of the song is also very good. Good chorus, good verses. It's just really well done, and I really like it. It's probably one of the most Red sounding songs on this album, I would say. At 7 we have Coming Apart, which is pretty much the ballad of the album, at least the bass edition. This is, I think, one of Red's strongest ballads that they've ever done. And not necessarily their best, to me that's Pieces, but it is still definitely pretty high on my list if I were to rank all of their ballads. Yeah, I just really like it. And that's about all I have to say about it. At number 6 is Still Alive. Again, like Fracture, it's kind of fast-paced, especially in the chorus. I really like the lyrics in this one as well. I think they're very well written. Just sort of the overall sound of it is sort of similar to quite a few songs on this album, where it's different, but it still feels very much like Red. At least to me. I do like how they did some things that they haven't really done that much before in this song, and I think it all worked together very well. At number 5, I actually have the alternate version of Still Alive, which is Still Alive, Looking for a Reason. I guess I very, very slightly prefer this over the original version of the song. I'm not really sure why, I just really like the sort of acoustic feeling that it has to it, and the more kind of stripped down, I guess. To me, the most unique out of all of the alternate versions of the songs. Yeah, I really like this. I like how it sort of changes things up from the song as well in terms of the lyrics, which in some places are a little bit different, like in the chorus, for example. I just think that it's a really good way to do an alternate version of the song, even though I do like how they did the piano versions of the others, like they have on their first 2 albums, or at least on their second album. I think the first, for Already Over Part 2, was just kind of an acoustic version, but yeah, I just really like it, and I think it's pretty good. At number 4, we have The Mask Slips Away, which is the only deluxe edition song that was like an original song and not a remix or alternate version or whatever. And this is another ballad, and much like I said about Coming Apart, and of course this being higher than it, I would say that this is one of Red's strongest ballads. It's a little bit different from anything they've really done before, but it's still really, really good, and I really like it a lot. I really like the lyrics in this one as well, and just the overall sound of it and how it kind of builds up throughout the song. Sort of the melody in the chorus. It's just all around a really good song. It's a very solid song, and if you're listening to the deluxe edition and you just kind of take out the alternate versions and the remixes and use this as the closing track rather than Singularity, both of them make very good closing tracks, and in my opinion this one is better. It's very good and definitely a worthy addition to the deluxe edition. Now at number 3, this was actually number 1 for a while. I thought this was my favorite song from the album, but after thinking about it a little bit more, it turned out that and listening to it some more, I don't actually like it as much as I thought I did, even though I do still like it a lot. It is Chasing Your Echo. I think one of the biggest reasons I liked this song is because it reminded me a lot of Gravity Lies from their last album of Beauty and Rage. And just sort of the sound of it and how it has this really big kind of epic sound to it, in the chorus especially. Also one of the strongest choruses on the album. It's nice to get something like this that has this sort of epic feeling to it. Now at number 2 is the title track, Gone. Now I know that a lot of, or I don't know about a lot of, but several fans of Red have really tore apart this song along with Unstoppable for being more electronic and sort of more pop-ish kind of songs, which makes sense for Unstoppable because it is a cover of a pop song. I'm gonna sort of say something that I think I said in my review as well, where this does sound very different from Red's typical sound, but it still feels like it belongs on a Red album. I don't know really how they pulled that off, but I guess they did. And it is one of the strongest songs on the album. I really like, again, the lyrics and sort of the message and meaning behind the song as well is something that I really like about kind of leaving a legacy and that sort of what Red said is sort of the theme of the album, and that also comes through in the song Singularity, I think, a little bit. And the sound of the song is also very good. Now at number 1, by process of elimination, you probably know what this is. And it is, I think, the second single from the album. It is Losing Control. Like I said, I did originally have this in the number 3 spot in the place of Chasing Your Echo, and I had that at number 1. But after thinking about it a little bit more, I decided that I like Losing Control a little bit better. Not by much, but a little bit. It is one of Red's strongest that they've ever done, I think. And again, like I mentioned with Unstoppable, even though it's not quite as noticeable in this song, I do really like the inclusion of horns in this, and I really hope they keep that up for the rest of their music that they make, because I think it's a really cool addition. Everything in this song just really works together well. The way it feels and the sound of it, the lyrics and everything just works together really well to make a really awesome song, and one that I think is very close to being almost a perfect song. It is definitely one of the strongest that Red has ever made. So that pretty much wraps up this video. What did you guys think of it? What's your sort of ranking for this album? Do you agree with me or disagree with me on any of these choices? Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you have any other albums that you'd like for me to do a video like this for, leave those as well. I do have a list done for the newest Starset album, Vessels, and I will probably be doing that at some point within the next couple of weeks. So if you have any other albums that you'd like me to do this for, then let me know. And that pretty much is the end of this video, so I'll see you guys next time.